All right, so we're here now with the extended version with Matt Waters, CEO of BC Craft Supply. Matt and I go way back from way back to the illicit days, and now really excited for what Matt's been doing at BC Craft Supply. Glad to have you on. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Pleasure to be here.
What do you think of the spot? It's pretty cool, eh?
This is an amazing spot. You've done a great job. I was a little actually surprised at the level of coolness of this studio.
Yeah, I stuck those panels on myself.
Yeah, it's the hard work it shows, and yeah.
Yeah, these ceiling cool. we soundproofed the ceiling, and the ceiling was tricky, man. I had to get actually my friend's dad to come down here because it was just like really tricky to get them to stick properly and everything. But yeah, it's been really fun transitioning from where we were still at Shoal Point, so we still have that beautiful space down there. But this is kind of, I like doing this kind of stuff, man. Like, this is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think your next step though is you need some ventilation in here so we can actually partake in some
we partaked in here before.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah. It's an open part. We've partaked, and I don't, for the record, I don't really smoke that much these days, right? So like, I have a pen and I'll take a few pulls on it here and there. But we had one of our micro guys up in Duncan came down, brought some amazing stuff, and literally hotbox this room, and I was like, yeah, hi. It was actually a good session because I think I loosened up a little bit more, so it was really good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
have some fun while you do
yeah,
this.
man, yeah. So for those of you guys that don't know, I was a big part of the initial team at BC Craft Supply, part of the esteemed Jedi Council, as they say, right? And working with like literally an all-star team of the who's who of certainly from the Lower Mainland and the island and the Kootenays of cannabis in BC in that time, and it was really an exciting time to be a part of BC Craft. It was a lot of fun, and maybe too much fun at times, but I'm sure you can attest to that. But
yeah,
yeah,
it was a lot of fun, and like you say, the team that was involved at Pasha,
Pasha Brands,
it was really an all-star team, like you say. It was the best of the best from the industry, from the legacy market, from the people and the brands, and the idea. It was really put together in a very thoughtful and beautiful way.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. No, I agree 100%, man. How the execution went, now that's a whole other kettle of fish, and it's actually the mess that credit to you. I mean, it would have been. I've said this. I don't know if I said this publicly, but I've definitely said it to people that I've spoke to, because people ask me about it all the time, right? And I've said, like, hey man, like, credit to you, man, for coming in there and stepping up when it would have been really easy. Painful but easy to say, hey, I'm washing my hands of this mess, right? Like,
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what happened there was, like I alluded to earlier, was that this thing was built in a very beautiful way with really some strong intentions of bringing awesome product to market in a way that nobody else had done. It was really a disruptor model, and there were some timing issues around the public markets and a little bit early on the micro side with licensing and that.
Right.
But the main problem was there was really no cohesive strategy to bring those products to market, like a commercialization strategy.
Right.
Like, what lanes are they actually going to go? How are you going to get products to market in this overly regulated industry?
Right.
That said, it became clear that the company needed some real change. And a little bit over a year ago now, I was approached to be involved in that change with a new board, and credit to those guys that put the faith in me to lead this kind of redemption story to bring.
It's an exciting story. Like, I mean, looking forward. So you have to look back because you don't want to repeat those same mistakes, right? And I just know you, and I know that's not going to happen, right? But what's on the future what do people have to look forward to in working with BC Craft? Like 420 is going to be back working with you guys and helping you guys out, develop your medical sales channel and aggregation and all those fun things. But what's exciting? What do you got to, like, what's the exciting news for everybody to hear?
Well, there's a ton of exciting news, and just to hit your point though, there is no sense in looking to the past, but it does provide a little bit of context.
Right.
So it's necessary, and I'll just say one more thing about that before I move on.
Yeah.
And that's, the company could have very easily just been thrown into bankruptcy or CCAA.
Yeah.
But in evaluating that, it was important, if I was going to come on, is that we didn't do that, and we tried to make it right with all the brand owners, the stakeholders, the growers, to move forward in this industry, so that people really felt that they could trust us again.
Right.
So it's been the last year has been about rebuilding that trust. And now that I believe that we've done a really tremendous job, and credit to the full team at BC Craft over the last year for the work they've put in to be able to now sit here with you and talk about where we're going.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I agree. Yeah. And to that point, like, you know, if there are anybody out there that needs a little extra help, that kind of got, you know, promise something or, you know, whatever, and any way that 420 can help out those people, we're happy to do it. We'll figure something out. We'll make it work for people. Because again, our motivation is the same as yours. Yeah. Getting the right craft cultivators into a good situation.
That's right. So yeah, if anyone's listening or watching, yeah, please, you know, reach out to me or Justin, and we'll sort out, make sure that you're licensing and you have a way to participate in this industry, as you should.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know you've got some exciting stuff going down in California. Maybe you can kind of give us the, you know, the elevator pitch on what's that looking like.
Sure. So yeah, very excited. We just closed on a deal to acquire Fuelwell Brands, and they're a U.S. California-based brand house. And right now they've got product in market. They've got little microdose tablets.
Those look pretty cool. So these look like. These I actually had one before we went on the air, and they're like they taste pretty good.
Yeah, they're very tasty. They have different formulations for different purposes. You know, this one's kind of it's branded smooth. It's kind of like your nighttime chill out. You know, and more of an indica based type experience. And then they've got, you know, juicy as well, and it's a little bit more energetic.
Right. And what about their? As we talked about in the Fall Out Friday version, Cosmo just randomly came to my office.
Yeah, so you know the founder is Victoria based, but his other co-founder is in California.
Right.
But yeah, Cosmo's a really interesting guy. He's done really, really well with this brand. I think he's got a chef background.
Yeah, because he used to like be the head chef at like Mole, like
maybe part and parcel as well.
Yeah. There was a couple other ones, but Mole stuck out to me because my friend Curtis, if you're watching, we used to train, do kickboxing in the morning, and then we go to Mole for breakfast every time. So I was like, oh, there's that connection there. I mean, Victoria's a small place, right? But
it is, and the industry is a small place.
Yeah, very small.
But you know, I've been aware of this company and Cosmo for, you know, better part of a year.
Okay.
And it just kind of circled back when we hired our new CFO, who also worked with them, and you know, the opportunities, just we saw it very clearly of how we could work together.
Yeah.
And more important than the products, like the people involved are amazing.
Always the most important thing.
It really is, and they align really well with what we're trying to do in the industry up here. So we acquired them for exposure to the U.S. market, which obviously is filled with opportunity.
Especially California
as they move towards legalization, and to start in California, which is the largest market there.
He was talking to me about some they've kind of carved out a little niche there for themselves with these like herbal blends, right?
Yeah. So in addition to these little tablets, they have herbal blended pre-rolls.
Yeah.
And you know, at first you think, oh well, I'm used to just rolling a joint,
right,
or buying a pre-roll. It's filled with cannabis.
Correct. Yeah.
But they fill it with other beneficial herbs for flavor and effect, and like the entourage effect.
Yeah.
They actually work, and they're selling like gangbusters.
And that's I think that's for me. I always thought that, you know, genetics is, well, we know how important that genetics are, and we know how important those things. But I think the future is going to be like these blended mixes, right? Like they do in the tobacco industry, right?
Well, that's right. And think about, not everybody is just wanting to get completely stoned or smoke, you know, straight cannabis just for that effect. Like there's a social aspect of it where maybe you want to have a couple over, you know, the course of a couple hours. And
right.
You're a new user of cannabis. These are perfect products for that entry to introduce you to cannabis.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you're right, man. Like not this is why the Health Canada kind of grading system pisses me off too, right? Is because, like, come on, man. Like not just because a product doesn't hit 30% THC doesn't make it any more or less valuable than a 17, 16, 18 if it's got those right terpene profiles and that sort of stuff, right? Like
100%. So this is an issue that it's been killing me since legalization, right? Because we all know that, you know, a 17% exotic, you know, genetic cultivar with a really nice terpene profile is going to have a much better effect than, let's say, you know, 28% that's just THC.
Right.
And when we look at other products, we don't grade them that way, right? Like,
no.
Let's look at alcohol, right?
Yeah.
I can make moonshine.
Right.
It's very cheap. It's
Right.
filled with alcohol.
Right.
But I much rather have a craft beer or a craft whiskey.
Right.
You know, so when the market matures and they understand that a little better, it's going to benefit everybody, especially the growers who are growing these products.
Because it's absolutely unfair the way this is going down right now.
It really, really is.
Right.
But that's up to us, right? And to educate the market and educate the consumer. And then hopefully the provincial boards are.
Well, I think I don't know which way you start. I don't know. Maybe you start there. You start at the provincial boards, or, I mean, I guess it's nice to have like Saskatchewan as a kind of an easy entry into the market and kind of get that's kind of what I've been advising, smaller producers to do, is to try and get into that market, establish your price point, and then come back and go into the BC, Alberta, Ontario, the big three, really. Right?
Yeah, and with anything with government, it's slow to move. But credit to the OCS. They've just come out with craft designation.
Yeah, I saw that.
And the treasure hunt category as well.
10,000 square feet. What's the treasure hunt category?
Well, it's a kind of like small batch exotics that may not be a long-term product in the supply chain.
Nice. That's the one you need.
Yeah.
Right? Because
absolutely.
that creates that demand, and that, I got to get this before it's not there anymore.
Well, it's based on a scarcity model, which works really well for other consumer packaged goods or products. So look at Starbucks, right?
Right.
Like the pumpkin spice latte is
Right.
a perfect example of that.
Right.
From this date until that date, you can get a pumpkin spice latte.
Right.
So if we do cannabis the same way, we have a Christmas blend and.
Right. Yeah. Like I think Crown Royal did it really well a few years back. I don't know if it was with that Northern. I think it was like a Northern Heritage, or there was some special line that they brought out, and you couldn't even get your hands on it.
That's right.
I think I still have a bottle of it in my house right now because it was such a valuable commodity at the time.
We should crack it open next time I'm here.
The funny thing is I'm not a heavy. I don't do much heavy anymore, except I'm pretty deep into what I'm doing in the industry, right? And I have like people give me bottles, they give me weed, and they give me and I usually I re-gift the weed because it's not going to keep well, but the bottles I have I have a full bar of high-end scotch, like I got a bottle of Dom at my house that you guys got gifted to me, and I'm just not really I'm more into the what the industry is kind of like driving me right now. Right?
Yeah, no, same here. And actually, I've gone on a challenge with some friends of mine this year to actually abstain from alcohol. Completely. But I'm certainly up to celebrating that 2022.
There you go. Yeah. See, I'm not purposely abstain. I don't abstain, right? Like I think we were out for dinner the other day, and I had a couple beers, but like I'm not going to. I just keep it really. I don't. To be honest with you, I don't really like the way I wake up in the morning after drinking these days.
That's just getting older. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And that's the that's what cannabis really comes in.
Yeah, man.
In a big way for me.
It's low calorie.
It's
right.
Keto.
It's keto friendly. Yeah. Which I'm kind of like easing back into the keto right now. I'm on week 1 of kind of an ease back. I'm not like hard into it, right? But yeah, I'm starting to set the table.
Yeah, I know we've spoken about diets at length before, and it's important. But in that diet is also you need to take care of your health and medical. And I'm a medical user of cannabis.
Right. Yeah.
And I find a ton of benefit from using it.
I think deep down everybody's a medical.
I agree with that. I also fully agree that all cannabis is medical to some degree.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's bifurcated by if it's sold in a retail store, it's recreational, and if it's on the medical platform, it's medical. But we all know that people generally are using it.
And I think you could say the same thing about alcohol as well. That it's
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think it is.
Everybody's trying to maybe mask some sort of a problem with alcohol. Like, yeah, of course. Yeah, you can go out and have a good time and get drunk, and there's no, medical component to it, right? But the people that are, my father-in-law, for example, he'll have 2 drinks every day, right? And it helps him sleep, but that's a medical, isn't it? Really, right? When it helps him, relax after the day's work. So I think there's very parallels to both those things.
Yeah, and unfortunately, though, at large uses, alcohol is quite toxic, and the detrimental effects on your body, your health, and from a societal impact is huge. Whereas cannabis, they don't.
Yeah, man.
Negative externalities aren't there.
You look at booze, man, and how many how many like domestic problems are created by alcohol, like how many, drinking and driving. And, I'm not saying you should go get high as AF and go and get behind the wheel of your car, but I would hazard a guess that you're probably just going to drive way too slow.
Yeah, I mean, there's been studies on the driving aspect of things too, and I try not to, drive if I feel that I'm impaired by cannabis. So agreed, but especially during this pandemic, right? Like people are struggling.
Yeah,
mental health is a really really big issue right now, and I do feel like cannabis and other psychedelics for that matter.
Oh yeah, man. Like I was saying to you before, like microdosing mushrooms is for me. And I think I may have mentioned this I struggle, like I've been like literally, I don't know if I've gone to this level of mentioning it, but I'm going to say it today, is I have personally struggled with chronic depression, hospitalized twice in the last 20 years from it. Right. And now in our business, your world has got to be even worse. No, not worse, I shouldn't say, but even more busy and more demanding than mine, right? Because I'm only a CEO of a small business. You're a CEO of a massive publicly traded company. So I can only imagine the level of, plates in the air, spinning in the air, right? Yeah. And I find when I microdose, I can really compartmentalize I can move from one to the next and not like, you can't, because you can't afford to be looking back too much, and you can't afford to be looking forward too much. You really need to stay in that moment. And I find microdosing does it for me. Yeah.
So it's great that you brought that up, because I also microdose, and I do kind of a 5-day on, 2-day off. And I also suffer from some mental health issues, anxiety and post-traumatic stress from an incident that happened to me. And I've used cannabis products, but really when I integrated that microdose in with the cannabis products was when I just saw the most incredible effect on me. And it's exactly what you're describing. It's the ability to stay in the moment with focus.
Yes.
And not have, that worry, that voice in the back of your head saying you're not doing this right or quick enough or good enough.
Right. Yeah.
And it allows you to focus and then move on throughout the day.
Yeah. And I find, I don't know why it is, like people like, are you tripping out, man? And this, and I'm like, no. You don't feel it, but you feel it.
So it's interesting that, yeah, exactly. The point is to kind of hit a level right below it's really detectable from like an impairment level, right? But you feel good, you feel happy,
right?
And once you get on a regimen, you really don't feel it. It's like liken it to an antidepressant, which I've actually been on. And I felt high out of my mind.
Don't even get me started on those, man. Jesus. So I got hit in the head with a machete in 1994, I want to say, maybe 93. No, it was 93. Yeah, 93. And I suffered from post-traumatic stress, just like you're talking about. They put me on the Prozac and all these other things. And honestly, man, I was in that 5% where I was getting suicidal. I was like, it was not good for me. And then they switched. And then in 2014, I had another hospitalization, chronic depression, brought on post-traumatic stress, all that stuff kind of culminated. And then they put me on a bunch of other stuff. And it just like literally made me so unbelievably positive that that was not good either. Started making a lot of bad business decisions and a bunch of really like honestly, if it wasn't for my family, like having my family sticking by me, because a lot of people would have just told me, and rightly so, where to go, right? Because I was just making like crazy decisions, right? Like bankruptcy risking decisions, right?
And then in the moment though, it feels absolutely normal. You don't even realize the impact. And I suffered from that as well from antidepressants. And I was on the same kind of cocktail, right? So an antidepressant, an anti-anxiety med, and a sleep med.
I was on the same cocktail, man. That Zopiclin, the little blue pills, and then Cerex or some other. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, man, terrible.
And now, I mean, it's cannabis and psilocybin.
Yeah. So now we're talking about medical. Let's talk medical. Let's talk about some, what we're gonna do at BC Craft to make BC Craft one of the leaders in their medical platform, because I'm really excited to be working with you on that.
Yeah, I'm super excited, and I think the medical sales without possession is just such an interesting license category that you're going to help facilitate a lot of clients.
I think I've got 5 on the go right now, and probably another 15 that are right there, just ready to make the move. It does take legacy people, same in the cannabis industry, a little bit of a realization that, hey, maybe this isn't going to be forever, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the big issues is like when I got my, medical authorization to grow and to use cannabis, I could obviously register with a handful of LPs.
Right.
Or one, depending sometimes how the structure works.
Right.
But I registered with a few, and I noticed that the products were lacking in quality.
Right.
And I think, while a lot of LPs have moved into that rec side of things, it's left the medical patients without a home.
Yeah, I agree.
For good product. Well, not that without a home. The home is that it's in the illicit market, where the products are of quality and there's easy access.
And they're more affordable, right?
And they're more affordable, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's our aim to bring really high quality, craft quality products into the medical market using, that medical sales without possession license as an aggregator model.
Right. Yes.
So what we hope to do is aggregate all those websites with all those patient lists.
Yeah.
And be able to provide them craft quality cannabis products at an affordable price and in a way that's accessible to them.
Right. And I think in a way that kind of gives you the same sort of feel. Like I think people, if they find a good place to be, the price is right, it feels right, the service is good, they don't need to look anywhere else, right?
Right. So I mean, take this all the way back to 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I think any consumer of cannabis, we all had our go-to dealer.
You're right. Yeah.
Right. And you go through a couple, and one guy, he makes you wait on the street, and one guy invites you into his living room.
Yeah.
Whatever experience that you're comfortable with is generally the one you go back to.
Correct. Yeah. I remember I remember so I was obviously in that industry, right, as one of the go-tos at times. But then sometimes I would be in, sometimes I'd be out. And so when I had to go, there's a few different, people I had, obviously. And I remember one guy, he always had great stuff. But if you wanted to go to see him, you couldn't just go in and go out. You had to have this 20-minute conversation with him. And I was just like, no, man.
Exactly. And we all have those stories, right? So it's the purchasing process is experiential as much as the use of cannabis. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That was
it
my
really
point.
is.
Right, yeah.
It really is. So we want to make that experience easy and enjoyable for the medical patient.
Yeah.
While offering a host of products that they would want to use and they find benefit from.
Awesome, man. And then so for what's kind of coming next down the pipeline for you guys? Are Grizzlers, Role Models, and Earth Dragon, or is that going to be your next kind of?
Yeah, so those are some of our house legacy market brands that were acquired when the company was being formed.
Yeah.
So it's very important to me to commercialize those products because that was the promise that we made to those founders of those companies.
Yeah.
Happy to report that we'll be launching Grizzlers in June.
Nice, man.
Where we've got acceptance by the OCS and the Alberta government to sell that.
And then maybe if you can, just to our viewers, maybe explain how that process works so that everybody understands how difficult it really is to get a product from concept into the market.
Well, it's exceptionally difficult. And right now we don't have a sales amendment, so we have to use a partner bridge to bring those products to market. So we have partnerships with Indiva and we have partnerships with Safari a lot to bring those products to market. So the first thing is obviously you have to conceptualize a product that is in demand and a format that works. So Grizzlers is a legacy market pre-roll brand. I think a lot of people would know Grizzlers.
Right.
It was all over Canada pre-legalization, but just to say we're going to bring a pre-roll to market doesn't really mean anything, right? So the boards, the provincial boards will talk about format. So, right now there was a lot of single pre-rolls and a lot of 3-pack of pre-rolls.
Yeah, I think the 3-pack, and I think from my research, the 3-pack's the go-to right now, right?
Well, it's kind of like what the market is flooded in.
Right.
So, we're going to be bringing...
Tell me you're going to say 20-pack.
We're not going to bring a 20-pack just yet because we still want it to be accessible to the market.
Fair enough.
We do have a very interesting promo program, which I can't really speak to right now. to roll out in Alberta.
Okay.
But it's very interesting. But I mean, larger formats are kind of where the boards are looking for. So
Yeah.
we're looking at 7.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So 7.5 grams.
7.5
So like literally like a pre-rolled eighth, really, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we're, the consumer, it's a convenience product.
Right.
So you go in before you're going to an event or a dinner party,
Yeah.
pre or
And
post COVID.
and you need to get high AF. There you go. You got your
Yeah. So, I mean, you can't just, and you have to commercialize these products by province, right?
Right.
So just because we're in Ontario doesn't mean we're going to be able to sell in New
Right.
Brunswick.
So process is this. So you got your working partnerships, right? Yeah. So you go to which one's gonna put Grizzlies under the market?
Yeah, that would be Safari Co. and then their partner marketing company called A Lot, which again, really great partners.
Okay.
An amazing company. They've brought craft multi-packs
cool.
to market.
Yeah.
And
so is A Lot similar to Velvet or a Great North Distributors? Is that kind of their role in that?
Similar but different. I mean, they're more really kind of boots on the ground in terms of like creating the product formats and marketing and selling into the boards.
Right.
And not like at the dispensary level.
Right. Which you actually need every step of this way, right?
Along the way.
You need every little bit of an advantage because so you're running through that sales amendment. Now, if BC Craft was doing it internally, would you need your sales amendment first and then put the products in, or can you put the products in then obtain your sales amendment?
For rec sales, we would need a sales amendment.
Right. Before you can submit anything into the boards?
Yeah. You have to be ready to sell.
Yeah.
And again, this is why, while we await our sales amendment, why it's so important that we get our medical program going.
Right.
Because we are medically licensed.
Right. And even that though, you still need to be bringing products in from sales amendment providers.
Well, from just a licensed medical provider.
Right.
So we can deal with LPs that have medical sales license, but not rec sales.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So Grizzlers will be coming to market. That again, I think that'll be a national brand. That's our aim, to be a national brand. When we started, Grizzlers was kind of known as that like a value brand, right?
Right.
That is a very affordable product that you could get, and it was consistent over and over again. And at first, we kind of thought that's what Grizzlers would be in the legal market as well. But we came to determine that through our supply chain that we were actually getting craft quality cannabis that would hit that craft designation from the OCS.
Right.
So, but we got it at a good price. So now what Grizzlers has become is craft quality cannabis at a fair price.
That's perfect. That's exactly what the market's screaming for, right?
Yeah, it's perfect both recreationally and medically. So
we
will divert some of that Grizzlers product into that medical chain as well.
Right, which is awesome. That's awesome, man.
And then obviously, we have Earth Dragon again, which is another brand, and I know
we're big fans of Earth Dragon. Literally, if you go back to our very first episode that we did from our craft cannabis series, Tessa was, she's a big fan of ours. We're a big fan of hers, so she's awesome and definitely the right type of, again, that type of person that we were talking about, right?
Right. Again, yeah, exactly. Tessa's inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
She really, really is. Her story is incredible, and she created an amazing brand that even not being in the market for a couple years now has really not lost any brand equity.
That's amazing, man.
We get calls, she gets, contacted through her social media, through Earth Dragon all day long. I get contacted all day long. When is this product going to be available?
Nice.
And it's one of those things where I think people didn't realize the opportunity in topicals.
Yeah.
Because it's a small part of the market, right?
Well, this is what a friend of mine, we were discussing this the other day, because I'm also a fan, not only a fan of Tessa's, but I'm a fan of the Real Hill guys, right? Kit and May there, right? So I'm going to help transition them into the regulated space, probably through First Choice. And the discussion I was having with a colleague of mine was, topicals are only they're less than 1% of sales in the rec market. Well, of course they are. Who the hell is going to a recreational store to buy a topical cream? They're not, right? They're just not.
That's a very good point. But the other point that people are missing that aren't excited about topicals is that it's literally the best entry product for a cannabis consumer. So prior to this, at one point in my life, I was running Legacy Market dispensaries.
Yeah.
And the one I ran in Salt Spring
Yeah.
had an aging population, right? So 50 plus, 60 plus, 70
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah.
They would come in. They weren't looking to smoke cannabis.
No.
They were looking for pain relief.
Right.
So the natural introduction to cannabis product is a topical, right? Rub
Right.
this on your hands, and not only do they find relief, but they would come back and say, maybe I'm willing to try an edible now.
Right.
For pain relief.
You know what? That's my father-in-law's done that same model. He's 74 years old, and introduced him to the topicals. Then he went to the CBD oils, right? So like the CBD therapeutics oil that James so graciously provided me with, and then Real Heal as well, and then he moved. He tried the edibles. Have you heard the edible story?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's Mother's Day coming up this weekend. Okay, so I'll recap the story. Some viewers that have seen this have heard this one before. Mother's Day. It's Mother's Day, I want to say 3 years ago, okay? My wife, my daughter, and I are heading down to Glow for a nice little Mother's Day, Glow for everybody on Monday to Friday is like the hub for cannabis. Everybody in the cannabis industry seems to go there for lunch.
Yeah, that's actually where I first met James
I first met James there too. James loves that spot.
Yeah, he does. I think it was close to his condo, but that's
Yeah.
where CBD Therapeutics essentially was born out of. So
Yeah, so Glow is this, for those that aren't in Victoria, so this waterfront little restaurant in, not the greatest neighborhood, let's be fair, right? But it's, it's a nice little spot, nice little, beautiful view, nice, good food, nice, good service, all that fun stuff. So my father-in-law had been bugging me to get some. He's got this really weird nerve pain that goes around here, and he's like, "Oh, you got to get me some oil to try out, right?" So I got Kamal, who we know from the days at BC Craft, and Kamal made me this 3 batches of oil, right? So he made me one for the morning, one for the evening, and one for just pain relief on the spot. So my father-in-law never has touched anything other than the topical and CBD drops. Never touched THC, ingested THC in his whole life.
So nothing psychoactive.
Nothing psychoactive. Never. Not once. Okay. At this time he would have been 71. Okay. So I go, Dad, just take 1 or 2 drops and don't make any plans for the day. Just chill out. Watch TV, he loves watching old Indian movies. He's old East Indian guy, right? Watch your Indian movies and just chill out, right? And so I'm like, I'm like, don't do anything because you don't know, this could hit you really hard, right? Or it could not.
Yeah, generally low and slow is
and slow. We know that, right? Low and slow. So finally, I leave. I go for a nice little brunch. My phone rings, and it's my mother-in-law, and she's like, "You got to come home right now. It's Dad. He's lying in the bed in his underwear and wants to call 911." I'm like, "Oh no, man!" So I finish off my brunch like as quick as possible. Jet home, and he's lying there as my mother-in-law described, like watching nothing on TV and just lying in his bed, like sweating. He's like, "Call 911, call the police, call anybody." Like, I'm like, whoa, calm down here, right? You're going to be okay. I'm like, just tell me what happened. So he's like, "Well, I took 2 drops like you told me and nothing happened. Took 2 more drops, nothing happened. I had lunch, I took 2 more drops." And this is like, as soon as he's saying this, I'm like, oh no, I don't even like where the story's going.
Yeah, this is already bad.
It's already bad, okay? Then he decides, we were car shopping at the time. So it was just before I got my Jeep, and we bought another Infiniti at the time. And he went down to Infiniti to go look at this car he was looking at. He drove down there. And by the time he got there, it hit him. And so he drove home.
Wow.
And he said that he was doing 40 kilometers an hour on the highway home. And I'm like, so I was just like, okay. I'm like, hey, look, I tried to get him to do the peppercorn thing. I didn't have any CBD oil at my house at the time. So I was like, he kept spitting the peppercorns out. So anyways, long story short, he greened himself out, which we've all done before, I'm sure.
Well, exactly. In fairness, I've done that.
Yeah.
And it's not comfortable. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It really is. And you feel, if you're not used to that feeling, if it's never happened to you before, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
So, you feel like you're going to die. You feel like you need to go to the hospital. The good news is, you're not going to die,
right?
And it will pass,
right? And he ended up he laughs about it now, actually. Yeah. So, and he hasn't he's taken edibles, he's done teas, so he hasn't shied off of it, but he's a lot more cognizant of the low and slow.
Yeah, well, it's interesting if you tie it back to the government regulations in the rec market. Everyone kind of cried foul when they put a 10 milligram THC cap on edibles.
Yeah.
And, from an old school perspective, it's too low for a lot of medical patients.
Right.
But from a purely rec standpoint, it's not a bad starting point.
Oh, man, I have no problem with it at all. Literally, I know plenty of guys, like the guys I was telling you about, we're doing this, weed, like Wednesday weed show, and just about, again, people coming into the space that would never have done anything illegal, right? They just they would never have broken the law. Yeah. And now that it's legal, now they're starting to kind of, yeah, man, 10 milligrams, like 5 is good enough for these guys, man. Exactly. Like I bet you if they took 2 of those clicks there, right, that would be a good day for them.
Yeah, and I mean, these are meant as microdoses, but if you're new to cannabis, try one, and you may feel it, right? I mean, I can pop these all day long.
Yeah.
I have a high tolerance.
Right.
But as an entry product, it's tremendous.
Yeah.
But you get low and slow.
Low and slow. And the same thing with the mushrooms. It's setting and knowing how much where your tolerance levels are and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, did I remember reading correctly? You guys got into a little psilocybin play too, right?
Yeah, so we did. So we acquired a company called Ava Pathways, which is an early stage research and development company that studied psilocybin and other psychedelics as well. And we really feel that there's such a strong integration and synergy between cannabis and psilocybin.
Yeah.
And that we wanted to get into that market, and this was kind of that entry into that space.
What's that look like? Like what's that look like for you guys?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, it's kind of its own division right now. It's kind of sitting out there on an island a little bit.
Yeah.
But we've recently appointed Susan Chappelle.
I was actually literally that was gonna be you stole my follow-up question, man.
See, this is perfect, right? You gave me the perfect entry. So we've appointed Susan Chappelle to our advisory board to help kind of lead that integration and help with licensing on the psilocybin side.
Yeah.
She's done a ton of work in the psilocybin space.
Nice.
In the psychedelic space, in publicly traded companies as well.
Yep. Haven, right?
That's one of them. That's one of them for sure. Yeah. So, I defer to her expertise on that. I mean, that's kind of why we surround ourselves with really talented people. Yeah.
And Susan's a really, really, really talented individual, right? So
she is. She brings a lot to the team here, and I think we have a couple different options. We're kind of everything's on the table right now with how we roll that out.
Right.
But we certainly feel that the ongoing R&D is first and foremost.
You need it.
But also clinical trials.
Yeah, and you're I was speaking with Renee from Hollyweed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was speaking with her. I think we went out for dinner with her, like myself and Andrew Gordon, about probably about a year, maybe a little over a year ago. Really, probably was right around a year ago, because it was like not out of lockdown, but like not too far out of it, right? So it was really a very cautious dinner, and she was saying the same thing, and she's a very intelligent woman as well, and she was saying the same thing, that the reality is commercialized psilocybin use. With clinical trials and all that stuff, you're 3 to 5 years away, probably, right?
And I mean, it's a lot of people are jumping on it because they see it might be the next kind of investor.
It's a shiny object.
It's a shiny object. It's like the gold rush, right? But I really don't see it being rolled out the way cannabis was rolled out,
right?
Just because of the real psychoactive
nature
of the substance. But that said, medically, it's being accelerated even quicker than cannabis.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that.
Yeah,
like we talked about before. I'm like, literally, I find like when I'm my regular mushroom guy, right, changed the formulation on me, right? So he went from 200 milligrams to 300, and that gets me to the point where I feel it.
Yeah, that's
in not a super awesome way, and I feel it where I'm like, gee, I'm actually a little bit high here.
Well, it's interesting too, because there's varying definitions of what a microdose is, right? So some people say it's 0.1 of a gram or 100 milligrams, all the way to 0.3.
Right.
And some people say no, 0.3 is that's an intermediate dose. But so there needs to be some real strong guidelines. I believe for me, I take what's a quarter of a gram, and it's mixed with some other
right, and that's what I was
beneficials.
doing then. So I had these like nice little packages, like made locally here, right? And I was really happy with them, and you know, and I know I reached out to you about, you know, what, because I know, you know, you and I are kind of, again, same sort of mindset of busyness, and are, you know, I didn't realize today, I learned today that you had PTSD as well, right? So I get the feeling that we're more similar than we know, right?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So yeah, like I said, I need to get it, so I'm like in that 200 sweet spot, but I'm doing it like every day, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one thing with psilocybin is your tolerance builds very quickly, which is both good and bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's good in terms of getting to a therapeutic dose that you're taking daily that's not making you feel high,
Yeah.
or you're not having any negative
Yeah.
effects cognitively or otherwise.
Right.
But that said, without kind of taking a couple days off, that effect, the positive effects, may start to wane as well.
Yeah, I didn't find it,
But
man.
interesting.
I didn't, yeah. So and I've done, obviously, you know, I have access to the internet, right? So I've done some research on different people's approaches to microdosing, and like you said, there's some people that'll do this 3 on 1 off. There'll be the 5 on 2 off. There'll be the one guy did it for 100 days straight.
Yeah, I saw that too. And I mean, really, I'm not a medical doctor, but I would just say.
Nor mind. I didn't play one on TV.
Yeah, exactly. Yet. I just say, yeah, like, you know, everyone should have agency over their own healthcare and their own body, and do what's right. I mean, I find for me the 5-2 really works.
Yeah.
But, you know, if it doesn't work for you, then don't do that. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I'm not like, I've been on a forced, now I've been off it for like I think since Saturday, and I feel, and like yesterday I was like feeling it, man. I was like, oh, I can't wait to see my friend today and get charged up again, because I literally love the way it is.
And that's what you just said is exactly how I feel about medical-based cannabis and psilocybin. You don't necessarily notice the positive impact until you stop taking it.
Yes.
And CBD is very much like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I, you know, obviously was one of the co-founders of CBD Therapeutics, and we moved a lot of CBD across this country and helped a tremendous amount of people.
I know that firsthand, man.
A real lot. Like, I still get, you know, a lot of calls, emails. You know,
what's going on with that?
Me. Well, you know, I'll get into that, but I guess let me wrap up the point in that a lot of people would take it and say, I don't feel anything. I don't think it's doing anything. And I say, okay, you know, that's fair. Keep taking it. And people say, you know what? I stopped taking it, and now I know how beneficial it was.
Right.
So it's really hard to describe that to somebody until they've done it.
Right.
But that's certainly the way it
is. I agree. Yeah. So I'm a religious user of the CBD tinctures. Like, I'm on the 1500 milligrams.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So CBD Therapeutics, we sold to Pasha, and that's how I got involved with Pasha Brands BC Craft in the first place.
Right.
Right. And, you know, after it sitting on the shelf for some time, without that proper commercialization lane,
right.
It was decided by the company in the best interest that it was given back to the founders.
Okay.
Myself, Justin, and James. But we had basically, Justin and I had already been compensated by Pasha Brands.
Right.
So the company went back to James.
Okay.
So James is in control of CBD Therapeutics. I don't know if he intends to do anything with the brand.
Right.
Which is, you know, it's sad, really.
Yeah. I was gonna say the same. I was gonna say, I know James is, you know, a very eccentric character as well, right? And you know, sometimes you find a passion, and kind of that passion can get lit or not lit. But it seems a shame, really, for people not to be able to get their hands on a brand that they knew and trusted, right?
Yeah, that's the disappointing aspect of what happened with CBD Therapeutics. But the positive aspect is that there's nothing stopping, you know, BC Craft from creating a new CBD brand, and we have the in-house knowledge and talent, including myself and Justin, my other co-founder in CBD Therapeutics, to bring a CBD product to market that has all the same benefits that CBD Therapeutics do.
Right. And then we'll get ready to wrap up here, but I wanted to ask what's going on with Craft Labs?
So Craft Labs was actually spun out as well.
Okay.
And Bridget, Dr. Bridget Simons, is in charge of Craft Labs.
Yeah.
She is still a stakeholder and a partner with BC Craft.
Yeah.
She basically runs all of our QA systems.
Unbelievably smart woman too.
She is.
You haven't met her.
Yeah. I mean, some people throw around the term genius a little too lightly, but
Right.
I think she's in that category.
I'd agree. I would put her in, and I've been honored to have met a lot of really super hyper intelligent people in this space.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I'd put her in my top 10 for sure. And that's with a very respectable top 10 list, right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Her brain works in ways that mine certainly doesn't. And that's great. That's why we partner and hire with those types of people.
Exactly. So Craft Labs is still, I'm mostly asking for like, people that we have that want to get products tested. Is that format still open for people to use, or how's that working?
Well, I think it's more so partnerships with labs. Like it's not it's not a dedicated lab in itself, but it has partnerships with labs across the country.
But that functionality is still there for me to refer clients to.
Yeah,
to that format.
Absolutely, and for QA services and things like that, lot release and all those fun things that we need to do.
Yeah, I know, man. I know, it's fun stuff. Okay, well, I really want to thank you for coming by, bro. It's been awesome chatting with you. We'll do it again. Anytime you have a big announcement or anything like that, you just hit me up and come on down and we'll chat about it.
Sure, sounds good. It's really a pleasure to be here, and I would love to speak to you again when we're
anytime, bro.
Anytime,
man.
All right,
anytime. Okay, thanks a lot.